What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So if you guys follow Lucid pretty closely, you probably are aware that they're actually down today, and they've been trending down for the past few days. Today they're actually down almost 5% at 4.86%, and they're down $1.20 right now, trading at about $24.28. And you can see more of the trend over the past few days when you look at the 5-day chart, and you can see that Lucid was kind of maintaining around $28 to $29, and they even spiked up almost to $30, which has been a resistance point for Lucid for quite a while. But since then, there's been two main things that have really been affecting Lucid. So I'm going to go over exactly what those things are. And then I'm also going to go over whether Lucid is a buy right now, especially before earnings coming up, which is just in a few days now. But before we actually get into all that information, for those of you who are new here, my name is Evan, and I make videos that show you guys different ways of making money in the stock market. So if that interests you guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss when I upload. Also, if you guys enjoy these types of videos and you enjoy me covering Lucid, let me know by hitting the like button down below, because it really does help out the channel and it lets me know that you guys enjoy these videos. Now, with that out of the way, the first thing that's actually affecting Lucid is the entire stock market. Over the past few days, there's been a lot of tension between Russia and Ukraine, and the S&P closed out on Tuesday in correction territory, and they were sinking because Russia's decision to move troops into eastern Ukraine. This caused the S&P 500 to fall 1%, and it put them down just over 10% from their early January all-time highs. So that's more of a broad market thing that's affecting Lucid, and it's affecting the entire stock market. Over the past few days, there really haven't been a lot of stocks that have seen green. Most of the stock market has been red these past few days. But while the entire market has been down, there's also something specific to Lucid which is actually causing their stock to fall more than it should be. So in a nutshell, basically what happened is Lucid is recalling about 40% of their vehicles right now because there's a safety defect that exists in the 2022 Lucid Air vehicles. Yesterday morning, Lucid actually began contacting the owners of their first batch of delivered Lucid Air luxury vehicles, and they advised them that there's an impending recall, and this recall specifically affects the front strut dampers that may have been manufactured by the supplier with the snap ring installed in the wrong orientation. Now, due to these defective parts, this could result in sudden loss of ground clearance, vehicle vibration, and front brake line damage, increasing the risk of a crash. Now, if this were any other company, I don't think we would be seeing as big of a pullback as we're seeing with Lucid, but because Lucid's only been delivering vehicles for about 4 months, and this is already their first recall, obviously we're going to see them react pretty negatively. But so far, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, hasn't yet published a recall notice. But according to a report by Bloomberg, 203 Air sedans are subject to the recall. And again, like I said, this is roughly 40% of their first production run of about 500 vehicles or so. Now, while this does sound pretty bad, it's really not as bad as people think. Lucid estimates that no more than 1% of the cars recalled actually contain the defective parts, according to Bloomberg. And so 1% of 200 works out to a total of about 2 cars. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, if only 2 vehicles really are being recalled and have defective parts, that's really nothing to worry about, and it's really not that big of a deal. I think people overreacted just because they heard a recall for Lucid, and they didn't actually look into it and see how many vehicles are actually affected. And obviously the timing could have been a little bit better, because pretty soon we're going to see Lucid's Q4 earnings report, which is going to be reported on February 28th. So at this point in time, that's only 5 days away. And during that earnings call, Lucid's also going to be making announcements pertaining to their international expansion plans. And they also may provide additional details about their new SUV model, which they're calling Gravity. And I think it's very possible that pre-order volumes could surprise to the upside, and we could see a lot bigger numbers than people were expecting. And because Lucid has been trading down and they've been correcting over the past 3 months or so, better than expected increase in pre-orders and deliveries could act as a pretty big catalyst causing Lucid to rise. And despite the fact that Lucid's not yet profitable, there's definitely going to be more than one reason for their stock to rise over the next week or so when their earnings come out. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to rise because of earnings, but there's a few things to keep in mind and a few things to watch out for during that earnings call that that other investors may see as a catalyst, and that may cause more people to buy into Lucid, especially if they can look into the long term of Lucid like a lot of people already are. Now, if we back up to November, Lucid announced that they had received 17,000 pre-orders for their different Lucid Air versions, and Lucid's yearly manufacturing capacity of 20,000 vehicles, which they've actually set for their 2022 goal, is expected to be exceeded by the pre-order status that is reported next week. And I think with all the hype and attention that Lucid Motors has been receiving, including numerous news sites that have covered their vehicle and the numerous special variants that Lucid offers, I think this is going to increase interest, and it's likely going to have a result in a significant increase in reservations, which in turn is going to bump up their share price if investors are seeing that a lot more people are invested in Lucid vehicles than previously. And since those 17,000 reservations that were announced back in November, it's pretty reasonable to anticipate 2,000 fresh pre-orders per month. And if you do the math with an average of $100,000 for their sale price, the estimated order book value for these 17,000 reservations is over $1.7 billion. And then based on the 2,000 average monthly pre-orders since November, Lucid could have at least 23,000 total pre-orders, including reservations placed up until the earnings announcement for their Lucid Air. But obviously the ultimate number is going to depend on the actual sales mix. And of course, Lucid does have other versions of the Lucid Air, such as the Dream Edition, and this costs upwards of $170,000. And the reason I bring this up is because the company's actual order book value and sales potential could be far more than 2.3 or 2.4 billion if you take into account that people are going to buy more than just the base model or the cheaper versions. Now, I also want to touch on Lucid's plans to expand, because we know obviously Lucid's not going to stay just in the United States, and they've actually signaled that they're going to be pretty aggressive in their international expansion, and they're hoping to expand into Europe in 2022 and into China sometime between 2023 and 2025. Now, obviously, if they do expand into the European market this year, that's going to signal further pre-orders and sales growth potential, and it's possible that we could see 10 to 15K pre-orders in Europe before first deliveries are even possible. And then any announcements or information about Lucid expanding into China could potentially serve to inflate their stock's value price. And I'm not saying it's going to make their price rise and that's going to be what the company is actually worth. But you've all seen how crazy the stock market can be, and any good news like that, especially for a stock like Lucid, which is very volatile, that could be cause for their stock to go up, even if it's just temporary. Because without a doubt, China is one of the hottest markets for electric vehicles, and any EV maker that's just starting up should explore possibilities of expanding into China. And like I said, this could be a pretty big stimulus for Lucid Motors, even if they only announced the possibility of it happening in the next couple of years. I don't think we're even going to have to wait until they expand to China. I think just on the news of them announcing it, that's going to get a lot more people invested in Lucid. Now, if we fast forward to 2025, Lucid may have sold or delivered 100,000 electric vehicles, which could end up generating them revenue of roughly $12 billion. Now, because the 100K estimate is only based on Lucid's market potential in the US, market entry into Europe and China could significantly increase this amount because both Europe and China have EV-friendly policies in place, making the adoption of electric vehicles commercially viable. And these are the markets that any EV manufacturer, especially one like Lucid, should be present in. Just looking at the potential annual sales in China alone could potentially exceed Lucid Motors' 20K vehicle production capacity in 2022. And if Lucid does end up scaling and developing plans that are completely implemented, this company could grow considerably quicker than even the most bullish predictions that we've seen. And I think if there ever were a time to buy into Lucid, now may be a pretty good time to consider buying in. Now, of course, you guys know I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give you financial advice. But if it were up to me personally, and I was looking at Lucid for a while, wondering whether I should buy in or not, it looks as though their stock has found some support in the mid $20 range, and they've also seemed to bottom out kind of. Of course, when they hit those highs just a few months ago, they started slipping into a corrective pattern, and this was after their big increase in the stock price in the fourth quarter, but that was mainly due to them delivering vehicles for the first time. Now we're starting to see them settle down, and they're really starting to bounce off these support levels that seem pretty strong, especially around that mid $20 range. Now, of course, it's very possible that they could pull all the way back down into the teens, or they could shoot all the way up past $30. It's just so hard to tell with a stock like Lucid, and especially with such a big catalyst coming up like their earnings in a few days, that could either tank the stock or make them shoot up. And it just comes down to how investors react to the earnings call. Now, for those of you who made it this far into the video, I want to know if you guys are actually invested in Lucid stock. And if you guys are comfortable sharing down in the comments, let me know how many shares you have and what your average share price is on Lucid stock. And if you're not comfortable sharing that, let me know what you guys are most excited to see Lucid announce at their earnings call on the 28th. Lastly, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like because it really does help with the channel. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye.